Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George, or all George. So, good morning, everyone. Today, there's a lot to talk about, a lot of economic news. So, I want to talk about that a little bit. Also, of course, talk about Bitcoin and what it's doing exactly right now. In fact, it's doing what it has always done, and that's good. And let's talk about some crypto news. So, let's get started. Like I said, good morning. Welcome. So let's start out with some economic news. We haven't talked about economic news in a long time. We've been talking only about FTX and its collapse and SBF. And I'm sure there's more to talk about that in the future as SBF readies some interviews and Twitter space appearances. I mean, he's trying to do what he can, but in the meantime, let's talk about some other stuff that could be moving markets in the near future. And when I say near future, I mean like this week, in a couple of days. So starting today on, especially tomorrow, we're getting a lot of U.S. economic data, and this is important. So today, you see there's consumer confidence, which should be coming out in about a half hour. Home price index, a couple of them. But then you could see on Wednesday, we're going to get a lot. Job openings, quits, ADP employment report, pending home sales index, all this stuff, right? And then Thursday, we continue on with even more retail spending, core PCE, jobless claims, right? So a lot of economic data. Okay, and why is this important, you may be wondering? Well, it's important because everyone wants to know what Fed Powell is going to do in approximately 2 weeks. Okay, as the data comes in, is it going to force him and other board governors to make a change, to make a pivot? And that's what everyone is waiting for, a pivot or some kind of softening language, which actually did appear during the last meeting, but maybe more so this meeting, okay? Because we did have a big boost from CPI reading, which showed core inflation tapering out. It went up, but it's tapering out, and overall inflation going down. Are we going to see the same thing again? And how are these economic data? How are they going to affect things? Are they going to show, a slowness, which is what we want? Right? We want to see slowness, not a collapse. If it shows that the U.S. economy is collapsing, well, that's going to be bad. But if it's simply showing slowness, softening, these are good things. That's what Powell wants to see. Because with the data showing there is a softening or slowness, that means whatever he's doing is working and should be bringing inflation down. Okay, so that's why this is important. But starting today, moving tomorrow and Thursday, I think we're definitely going to see some volatility. And it doesn't mean that it's bad volatility, but we're definitely going to see something. But right now, it's predicted that the next rate hike that's coming in a couple weeks is going to be 50 basis points, at least according to CME prediction. I don't know how they come up with this prediction, but 67.5% chance that it's going to be 50 basis points rather than 75. Although that 75% is going up because it was below 32.5 before, and now it is at 32.5. So there's still a lot of people who think that Powell and his buddies will still raise rates by 75 basis points. So we will see. Okay, so I want to start out with that. Also, there's a lot of talk about what's going on in China, obviously, right? With a lot of protests that happened over the weekend. And this is due to the COVID lockdown, to the zero policy that President Xi has implemented, and people in China do not like it. Of course, you have cities being shut down, manufacturing just halted, right? Obviously adding to supply chain issues around the world. And we were just getting to the point where they were opening up, supply chain issues are being resolved, right? And in a way, it's helping bring inflation down. But now there's more stricter rules because COVID is going up in China. But, I saw this. COVID infections drop for first time in more than a week. So that's positive, right? Will President Xi soften his stand on the zero policy that he has implemented? Probably unlikely. But, you know, a lot of people are eyeing China to see what they're doing. Are they going to ramp up their production, their manufacturing, their shipping, or are things still going to be bad for a while, right? But if it turns positive, that could definitely help bolster economies around the world and help bring down inflation. So, good stuff. Good stuff if it happens. Also, you know, there's a lot of talk about free speech these days. Elon basically pointed fingers at Apple yesterday, and specifically at Tim Cook, about censorship, about free speech, and how Apple doesn't like it, doesn't want it. Elon is pointing finger directly at them because there's talks about how they want to ban Twitter from the App Store. And also they stopped their advertising and stuff like that. So there's a lot to talk about there, but I don't know what Apple is going to do. Obviously, you can't just ignore Elon. And Tim Cook uses Twitter quite often, so we will see if he's actually going to make a move. But Elon is definitely poking a bear, and some argues this is a good thing because he's fighting for free speech. And then I saw this headline out of the UK, which actually is pretty surprising. There is a new bill that's being circulated that will actually now remove this requirement that big social media giants like Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter will have to take down content that is deemed harmful content, legal but harmful. Before, they are required to just take them down. But now there will be just like a disclaimer or something like that, so they don't have to take it down. And the lawmakers in the UK are saying, well, this is because we want to protect free speech. Interesting. Usually with government controls, you don't see this happen. It usually tightens. It doesn't loosen. I don't recall the last time I've seen laws being loosened up, especially when it comes to controlling the population, right? Using media or using laws to control what is said, that usually only gets tighter. It doesn't get loosened. So this is actually surprising. I don't know if this is going to get passed, but I saw this. I'm like, wow, very surprising. Very surprising indeed. But anyways, all right, now let's move to some Bitcoin news. Despite all those things that's happening, Bitcoin is a little bit higher today than yesterday. Crypto, I think yesterday was like 16.2 when I was streaming, 16.1. So it's a little bit higher. Overall, crypto market cap has been going up today. That is good. One thing I want to show you guys, and this may piss off Bitcoin maxis because Bitcoin maxis always blame the altcoins for this happening. But I can't help but notice that Bitcoin dominance has been just trending down and down and down and down. In fact, if you look right on top here, it says dominance, Bitcoin dominance at 37.9% and ETH dominance at 17.8%. So Bitcoin dominance is now below 38. So I decided to pull it up, and this is what it looks like, right? This is another indicator why our current environment is very different than previous environments or previous cycles, however you want to look at it. You look at back in 2013, well, you could go back to 2011, all the way back to 2017, before altcoins really started going up. Bitcoin dominance was above 70, 80%. That's how high Bitcoin dominance was. Okay, and then we had a couple bull run where altcoins really shot up and Bitcoin dominance went back down to about 39%. But always came back up during the bad. So during 2018, right, 2019, 2020, what happened? Look at Bitcoin dominance here, going up to 60%, and then eventually it peaked at 69% or 72%, okay? And that's the beginning of 2021. So we know that 2021, then we kicked off and we had one of the most tremendous runs ever, right? But, you know, since then, Bitcoin dominance has been slowly tapering down. So you could see we had a few peaks where it went back up to like 45, 46, 47%. But, you know, overall, it is trending down, right? And what's my point to this? Well, number one, it's very different because a lot of people will still say, well, you know, Bitcoin dominance goes shoot right back up again like it has done before. I don't think that's going to happen because of the strength of altcoins. And the reason why the altcoins are so strong is because there's a lot more utility. There's a lot more staking. There's a lot more DEXs and bridges and liquidity pools and synthetic tokens and everything else that's in the space that people are using and holding. And let's not forget NFTs. People are also holding NFTs as well, right? So the space definitely matured a little bit, and there's definitely a lot more use cases now versus before. You go back to 2017, 2018, what did the altcoins do? Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. Barely any staking, barely any DEXs that were operational, let alone ones that was capable of even making trades. The liquidity was so bad that no one dared to use them. The slippage was so bad. And then the number of wallets out there, the number of dApps out there just was not anywhere close to what we have now, right? So overall, I think this shows the industry growing, even though, yes, everyone just looks at a price. And I know the price is lower versus the previous highs. But you can't argue that adoption and growth is still happening in an entire space, right? So that's kind of what I want to show you guys. But of course, Bitcoin is still the big dog. And I still think it's very, very different than all the other altcoins because I think it's the only store of value that we have. And everything else is more like a utility or aka security, because that word is very popular these days. But you know what? There are a lot of people that still continue to believe and continue to accumulate and HODL and DCA. That's good. That's all good. I showed this chart actually, I think yesterday. It's very similar. But this shows a number of people holding Bitcoin from 0.1 to 10. Okay, there's a big gap there. 10 Bitcoins is very hard to get to. A lot of people are aiming for 1 Bitcoin, which is great. But 10 Bitcoin is beyond most people. But you look at it overall, look at that. Look at the right side here. Look at how it's skyrocketing right now. Skyrocketing. While prices are low, people are taking advantage, buying the dips, and realizing this is a great, great time to be getting in or DCAing even more, right? That is a huge, huge climb. Huge climb. So it shows you not everyone is panicked. Not everyone is getting out. In fact, there are a lot of people getting in and jumping more in. And, of course, we have institutions that are also buying by the boatload behind the scenes via OTC market, right? So we are seeing a lot of that. Also, TechDev tweeted this. And I think this is interesting because this shows history repeating. And this relates to DXY, which a lot of people are paying attention to. That's the dollar index, the US dollar versus other currencies. Also looking at USDT, which is Tether, stablecoin dominance, and looking at RSI. So you're combining all these things together. What do you conclude from it? Well, when DXY starts going down, that's the yellow or orange. When DXY goes down, that means great things for Bitcoin, crypto, equities, everything. Because that shows that money is coming out of bond and treasury and notes, basically, and going into investments like crypto and like equities, right? So right now, what we're seeing is, yes, DXY is coming down in a big way. So that's number one. That's good. Also, you look at something like RSI, which just shows Bitcoin, first of all, is very oversold. And also, it's in a bearish divergence, which actually, speaking, it sounds bad. But if you look at last time this happened, Bitcoin went on a tremendous run. Also, you look at USDT dominance. When stablecoin dominance starts going down, what happens? Just like DXY, just like dollars getting out, USDT, when that dominance goes down, that means stablecoins are getting out and people are using them to buy things like Bitcoin and crypto, obviously, right? So looks like history is repeating, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And obviously, Bitcoin follows what this other show is the 4-year cycle. Of course, Bitcoin follows that. Leading up to a halving event, Bitcoin usually has a good recovery, and afterwards, it has a great, great run, right? So we're getting to that point where we are coming up to the next halving event. We're going to start seeing that recovery. So that is also something that is fantastic. All right. Now, lastly, a couple of things. India is starting to pilot CBDCs. You know, the New York feds are doing this already in the U.S., but you're starting to see this worldwide. I don't know if this is actually good for crypto, but it does show that its use case is growing. So even central banks around the world are starting to pilot digital currencies on top of a blockchain ledger. So I think that overall is good. But as for whether or not decentralized banks or governments are going to start cracking down on stablecoins in favor of their CBDC, well, that is probably not so good and probably going to happen. So I guess we'll see. What else is there? Hut8 is having some kind of energy dispute right now. So they have shut down some of their mining machines because some power company is not providing enough power to them, and then they claim that Hut8 is not paying their bills. So it's something to worry about, or something to watch at least, because we don't want to see miners start selling off their Bitcoin, because right now it's pretty unprofitable for them. But Hut8 has reported that, they're just sticking with everything they have. Their last quarterly result shows they have added more Bitcoin to their balance sheet. They don't look like they plan on selling off anytime soon, nor do any of the other miners that are publicly traded. They all came out with quarterly reports showing that they've added Bitcoin, not sold off Bitcoin. So they're all, it's like a race, right? Race to the end to see who can accumulate more Bitcoins. That's what they're all doing right now. And then lastly, I did see a lot of you guys are Fantom fans. Fantom has gone up quite tremendously the last two days. So I was wondering why. I did see this. Andre Crony, who's back at Fantom. There's actually a big Fantom conference that's coming up in January, I believe. But he released articles showing that Fantom is positive cash flow. I guess that's good. So they're not negative. They don't need to sell off tokens to survive. They're actually doing pretty well. Also, there's a lot of other things. They just got added to Ledger. Obviously, a lot of you guys started learning about Ledger and learning about how to take control of your own crypto. So Fantom was just added officially by Ledger, so that's pretty fantastic. And there's a lot of other stuff that's going on, right? So Fantom has been big in DeFi for a long time, and with Andre Crony back, it seems like they're going to continue forward with DeFi and possibly leading the way. All right, so good for Fantom. All right, outside of those things, let's do some Q&A. Super Google, should my DCA include Doge and Sheep? Well, sure, why not? If you have them already, you want to average down, sure. I think Doge, again, is being carried by Elon right now and could be carried very far by Elon. So there's that. And then Sheep, they still have a lot going on. You don't hear much about them recently, but Shibarium, their Layer 2, their Metaverse, their game, they still have a lot going on. So when the market comes up, I'm pretty sure both will reach back to their previous highs. All right, let's see here. Warn people about AAX exchange. Suspended withdrawal 2 weeks ago, but they still accept deposits. I don't even know what AAX is. I've never heard of it. MDAZMZM. So, yeah, I don't know what AAX is, but it sounds bad. Elon's going to have his own phone. Well, that's what he claims. If Apple kicks out Twitter and maybe Google follows, then he's going to have no choice but to release his own phone. And if that happens, who knows what's going to be on that phone. He has free control to put whatever operating system, whatever dApp stores, whatever wallets onto that phone. right? So it got a lot of people excited, but I don't know if that's actually what happened. Someone says XRP XRP is king. I haven't heard anything about XRP in a long time, or Ripple. SEC, their lawsuit. I don't know. I haven't heard much about it recently. All right, let's see. I'm kind of caught up here. The Chainlink opening up staking in December is doing what ETH did on charts before ETH 2.0. Well, yeah, they started opening up staking. It's in beta test right now, so they will be opening up fully. I don't know the exact date, but December does sound about right. So they've been testing it already, and I think it's going to do good things for Chainlink overall. What staking does is incentivizes people to not sell and to just hodl, right? And overall, that's a good thing. Chainlink is up, climbing the charts recently, so up 7%. Could be coming. Thoughts on Binance being solvent? No thoughts, because I think there's very little chance of that. Binance is they're just an absolute beast. Absolute beast. CZ seems like he's a very capable leader, very calculated leader. So no, I don't think they're insolvent. But if they become insolvent one day and they go under, it'll be worse than Tether collapsing. It'll be equivalent of the Federal Reserve collapsing. That's how bad it would be. Oh, I forgot to ring the market bell this morning. I forgot. Hey, it's working this morning. Cardano is struggling as of late. Any idea why? Volume really low too. Well, it's a harsh market right now. It's a harsh market, but they are still holding the top 10, so that's good. But ever since their recent upgrade, Vassal, seems like a lot of things died down. So I know Charles was at a conference yesterday, talked about a lot of things. Smart contract usage is up, but overall, I think right now people are just fearful, not DCing as much as before, and that's why they haven't moved much. I'm glad to see Polygon has moved in the top 10. I've always said Polygon deserves about be in the top 10. They deserve to be much higher, but they push Polkadot below. What else I missed? Someone else says AAX exchange. I've never heard of AAX, so I can't speak to it. It's not one of the exchanges I've ever heard of or used. So it does seem like people are concerned about it. If you guys are in AAX or thinking about it, you probably should stop using it. Are all proof-of-stake coins going to be securities and all? No. No. Just because it's proof of work or proof of stake does not make it automatically a commodity or a security. That's the wrong way to look at it. Do you think the possible railroad strike will affect crypto? You know what? I actually saw that headline. I skipped over it, but I guess I should look at it. According to Biden, the U.S. needs to resolve this ASAP, and most likely they will. If the railways, there is a strike and the railroads get shut down and there's no more freight being delivered across the country, that would be bad. You'll go see inflation go up in the country again. So CPI and PC readings will go back up again because prices will get more expensive. So we definitely don't want this to happen. We definitely don't want this to happen. I have a feeling, though, Biden and Congress is going to make this go away because this will be the worst time to have this happen. So I have a feeling before the deadline, it's going to be resolved. George, can I send my Fantom to Ledger address as my ETH? No. You have to. Well, actually, it depends. There's ERC20 Fantom, and then there's also native Fantom. So it depends on what you're sending. If you're sending, say, Fantom from exchange, most likely it's ERC21, unless you could specify that it's the native Fantom. So just be careful. If you're sending to an ETH address, it has to be the ERC20 version based of Fantom. Is Arculus for both Apple phones and Android? I'm assuming so. I have them on my Android, and if they're on Android, they're most likely on iOS too. What's your opinion on China? Will this create more need for crypto? Of course. Crypto ultimately brings freedom to the people. Property that you can control, right? Ultimately, if you boil it down, crypto presents or brings a decentralized network that really no one can control. And it's also presenting a store of value in the form of Bitcoin that no one can control or inflate or apply monetary policy to, right? So it's really about personal freedom or controlling your own money. And of course, in a country like China, I'm sure they want more of that. And China doesn't want to give that to the people. So there's definitely a conflict there, right? But you can only hold down the people so long. And we know a lot of miners originated from China. Also, there's a lot of people in general that, still hold on to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is deemed legal property in China. It's if you have it, it's property, but you can't buy it. But I'm sure people have figured out ways to get around that. And also, I think it's legal in Hong Kong as well. But yeah, I think it's not just China. Everywhere, I'm sure in Russia, in a lot of countries around the world, especially ones that deal with hyperinflation and economic turmoil. People are turning to Bitcoin and crypto. So, fantastic stuff. What is the purpose of CBDC? The purpose is it's an easier form of money for the governments or for the central banks, and they could track it better. They could track it a whole lot better. They don't have to print they don't have to print a physical bill, which they can't track. Everything will be digital. My dad bought and sold. Now he's regretting doing so. Well, everyone new in this space makes mistakes, makes a lot of mistakes. Even people not new in this space makes a lot of mistakes. I've made endless mistakes in my lifetime when it comes to investing, right? But when it comes to crypto, most people, if not all, come in right away expecting big gains. They don't get it, or they lose a little money, unrealized loss, and then they just get out. Fortunately, though, small percentage of the people that get in, they stay in. They stay in forever. So that's why you have more and more holders every single cycle. We have higher lows, and then we make higher highs too. So fortunately, there are a lot of people that are learning. And also right now with what's going on around the world, I definitely think there's a lot of people looking at some way to opt out of the current environment. So that's why I do think we do see a lot more people coming in right now. And what a time to be coming in. To be able to buy Bitcoin around 16,000 versus 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 before. It's like Black Friday for the whole year. It's like a Black Friday sale for crypto, for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, for all these crypto. Gives you the ability to buy low. And that's the way to do it. Do you think Gemini Earn users will eventually recover any of that crypto? Yeah, I think so. I mean, these lending companies that have become insolvent and going through bankruptcy, there's going to be some that's being given back. The whole is not entire amount. The whole is usually, I don't know, if I had to throw a percentage, anywhere from 10 to 20%. But there should be a good 50, 60% left to give back to the users. So Gemini Earn users will eventually get some of that back, I believe. Unless someone comes in and saves Genesis and then can make everyone whole. That's still a possibility. Technical tips. Good for you. I'm glad you're still here. Murillo, is that how you say it? Murillo? Thank you. Appreciate your support. Do you think Avalanche is a good chain? I do like Avalanche. They've been quiet recently. Quiet, but they're growing out their sub chains, and there's still a lot going on. A lot of development. They got a good amount of DeFi. They're building out bridges to other chains. They have their new wallet. They have a lot going on, and also they're bringing out new stable coins in their system. But these are all in the works, right? Confident Index, did it get released? It's supposed to come out. I don't see it. Yeah, it's flat right now. Well, this guy's not feeling it. Yeah, there's a lot of Fed governors that's going to be talking this week too. I don't see the consumer index. It's supposed to be out in the next 30 minutes. Or maybe it did come out. I don't see it. Oh, here. There we go. It doesn't even have a news article. U.S. Consumer Confidence Index falls to 102 in November from 102.2. That's actually good news. That's actually good news. I know that sounds like bad news when Consumer Confidence Index falls, but that's what Powell wants to see, right? Slowness, softening. He doesn't want to see a collapse, and we don't want to see a collapse, but we definitely want to see softness because that means people are spending less, traveling less, prices are going to come down. Definitely a good thing when it comes to inflation, and that is what Powell wants to see. But that's only the start. The rest of this week, starting tomorrow and Thursday, there's a lot of economic data. So we're going to see some volatility the next 2 days. That's for sure. Maybe today's going to be quiet, but next 2 days, we're going to see a lot of volatility. All right, guys. So overall, a lot of stuff to look forward to the remainder of this week. There will be some volatility. But overall, guys, you know my stance. I believe in Bitcoin. I believe in crypto. It's the best way to opt out of the current financial conditions. Okay, so stay strong, my friends. I'll see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.